Max Verstappen's pace in Mexico was terrifying mechanical perfection on the edge of madness. But behind the chaos, Lewis Hamilton was the one paying the price, hit with a harsh 10-second penalty that derailed a masterful drive in the Ferrari SF25. The FIA's decision changed everything, and even Verstappen's unreal speed couldn't hide the controversy. What really happened in Mexico wasn't just about pace, it was about politics, pressure, and Hamilton refusing to brake. The heat in Mexico City is unlike anywhere else. It doesn't just sit on the tarmac, it lives in the air, breathing through every corner. The sound of 20 engines echoed through the high-altitude haze, sharp, metallic, almost unnatural. You could feel the tension ripple down the main straight as the lights prepared to go out. 71 laps of survival awaited. But inside one of those cars, painted in Ferrari red, sat a man who's faced greater pressure than anyone on that grid: Lewis Hamilton. 22 seasons in Formula One. 7 world titles. And still, here he was, visor down, pulse steady, facing not rivals, but expectations. For Hamilton, Mexico was supposed to be redemption. Ferrari had brought upgrades to the SF25, a new floor, a refined cooling package, promises of stability and traction that had been missing all year. And in qualifying, it showed. He'd been right there with the front runners, the car finally balanced, finally predictable. "We've got something to work with," he'd said afterward, voice calm but certain. But racing isn't a science, it's chaos disguised as precision. And in Mexico, chaos always wins. The start was a storm. Norris darted left, Leclerc drifted right, Verstappen charged between them like a spear. Hamilton, boxed in but unflinching, threaded the Ferrari through the mess, millimeters from disaster. Into turn 1, 4 cars fought for space that simply didn't exist. Contact. Dust. A flash of yellow and red. The Ferrari jolted across the asphalt, missing Verstappen's front wing by inches. For a heartbeat, it looked over. But Hamilton caught it, pure instinct, decades of control compressed into one perfect save. He rejoined safely, lost no advantage, and pressed on. It was survival at 200 miles per hour. For 5 laps, the tension settled. The crowd roared, the rhythm returned, and Ferrari's pit wall exhaled. Then came the message: short, emotionless, devastating. Car 44 under investigation for leaving the track and gaining an advantage. The words hit like a punch. Engineers looked at each other in disbelief. "He lifted," one said. "He lost time," another added. But in Formula One, logic doesn't always win. By lap 6, the decision was official: 10-second time penalty for car 44. Fred Vasseur leaned forward on the pit wall, eyes narrowed. "Unbelievable," he muttered. For Ferrari, it wasn't just a penalty, it was a familiar heartbreak. In the cockpit, Hamilton heard the news. 10 seconds, he asked, voice level, measured. "He pushed me off." There was silence on the radio, nothing left to say. Yet even as injustice burned, his tone never broke. That's Hamilton. He doesn't shout, he calculates. Within moments, he was asking for deltas, for temperatures, for strategy. The anger was there, but buried under control. "All right," he said finally. "Tell me what we need to do." It wasn't defeat. It was declaration. From that moment on, the race changed shape. Verstappen was flying impossibly fast, mechanical in precision, every lap a masterclass in control. His Red Bull RB21 looked like it had transcended physics. But while Verstappen chased perfection, Hamilton fought for survival, balancing a wounded strategy, an overheating car, and a penalty that should never have been given. And yet, somehow, he made it look graceful. The message appeared on the timing screens like a lightning strike across a calm sky. Car 44, 10-second time penalty for leaving the track and gaining an advantage. 10 seconds. In Mexico's thin air, that wasn't just a setback, it was a death sentence for a podium finish. Inside the Ferrari garage, silence fell. The hum of computers, the chatter of engineers, all froze in disbelief. They had the data. They knew the truth. Hamilton hadn't gained an advantage, he had lost time. He'd lifted, corrected, rejoined safely. But the FIA had decided otherwise, and that was that. Fred Vasseur leaned forward over the pit wall, arms folded tight. "That's not fair," he said flatly. Riccardo Adami, Hamilton's race engineer, replayed the onboard footage again and again. The telemetry showed everything: throttle down, lift, loss of speed. It was clean. It was controlled. It was professional. And yet, 10 seconds. "We'll appeal," one strategist muttered. "No," Vasseur said. "He won't care. He'll drive through it." And he did. When the penalty came through, Hamilton didn't explode. He didn't argue. He just took a deep breath and adjusted his tone. "Copy," he said. "Tell me what we need to do." Those 8 words told the story of a man who has seen every version of Formula One: the politics, the inconsistencies, the endless dance between control and chaos, and learned to rise above it. There was anger there, yes, but it was the focused kind. The kind that doesn't destroy. The kind that builds. From that moment, the Ferrari SF25 became an instrument of precision. Every corner was a lesson in restraint. Hamilton adjusted his brake bias forward by 2 clicks to cool the rears, short-shifted through turn 7 to save traction, and started lifting earlier into turn 1 to preserve tire life. The telemetry graphs began to flatten, smoother than anyone else's on the grid. While others wrestled their cars through the corners, Hamilton was painting lines. "He's not reacting," said one Ferrari engineer quietly. "He's predicting." On the pit wall, you could feel the respect grow. The same team that had felt injustice moments ago now watched in awe. The SF25, fragile all weekend, looked suddenly stable. The rear-end grip improved, the temperatures dropped, the rhythm returned. It wasn't luck, it was management. "He's compensating for the car's flaws by instinct," said another engineer. "He's reading it like he's coded into it." That's what separates Hamilton from the rest. He doesn't fight the car, he communicates with it. He listens to its limits, adapts, and then extends them. Outside, the world saw Verstappen flying a blur of precision and pace. But inside the cockpit of the Ferrari, something more subtle was happening. Hamilton wasn't chasing, he was containing. He was turning a wounded car and a flawed ruling into a case study in how to survive a race without losing rhythm. It wasn't dramatic. It was art. Lap after lap, the data confirmed what the eyes already knew: consistency. His lap times were within a tenth of each other for nearly 20 minutes, despite the penalty and tire wear. "He's driving the Delta like a metronome," Adami said over the radio. Hamilton's reply came instantly. "That's the plan. Calm. Confident. Surgical." Meanwhile, social media exploded. Fans, journalists, even former drivers were furious. "That's harsh," wrote Jensen Button. "Lewis avoided contact. What's the point of penalizing that?" Sky Sports' Martin Brundle said it live on air: "He's been punished for surviving." But Hamilton didn't engage. He never does. His response was mechanical, mathematical: turn injustice into consistency, and consistency into results. As the first pit window approached, Ferrari recalculated everything. The penalty had thrown their strategy out the window, but Hamilton's tire management had given them options. "We can extend," Vasseur said. "We can still make this work." It was unthinkable 20 laps ago, but Hamilton had made the impossible possible. By lap 20, the Ferrari's telemetry told the truth the FIA never saw. The car wasn't overheating. The tires weren't dying. The lap times weren't fading. Against the penalty, the conditions, and the pressure, Hamilton was still performing at the absolute limit. "He's driving beyond the data," Mackey's watching from Red Bull's neighboring pit wall admitted quietly. "He's extracting more than the car can give." Mexico City isn't just a race, it's a test of endurance, precision, and physics itself. The thin air makes engines gasp, the heat punishes brakes, and the lack of downforce turns every lap into an act of faith. Ferrari knew that. They'd come to Mexico hoping their new cooling setup would survive the altitude. It didn't. The SF25 ran hot from lap 1, brake temperatures peaking at 900 degrees, energy recovery struggling, rear tires blistering faster than expected. And yet, somehow, Hamilton made it all look effortless. From the cockpit, he was managing chaos like a pilot flying through turbulence. The Ferrari wasn't happy, the balance was off, the traction inconsistent, but Hamilton's inputs were smooth, almost impossibly calm. No lockups, no overcorrections, no panic. "He's driving it like it's not broken," one Ferrari engineer said, watching the data. But it was. The telemetry told a different story: brake temperatures rising, battery energy fluctuating, and tire surface heat beyond the ideal range. And still, his lap times were steady. "He's not fighting the car," said another voice on the pit wall. "He's negotiating with it. It's what makes Hamilton unique. Where most drivers wrestle the steering wheel, he listens to it. Through every vibration, every slip, he feels what the car needs and adjusts instantly. When the rear tires began to overheat, he moved brake bias 2 clicks forward, cooling the rears without losing stopping power. When the hybrid system started to overcharge on the long straights, he began lifting earlier to ease the load. None of this was instructed by the team, he simply knew. He's anticipating changes before the sensors pick them up," said one Ferrari data analyst, shaking his head. "He's reading the car like an instrument." By lap 25, something strange began happening on the monitors. The SF25's tire degradation line, normally a steady descent, started to flatten. The overheating curve began to stabilize. Hamilton wasn't just managing the car. He was teaching it how to survive. The engineers had predicted a 20-lap window before the softs collapsed. Hamilton extended them to 33. Every lap, he balanced aggression with mechanical sympathy, squeezing pace out of the Ferrari while keeping it alive. "He's changing our numbers as he drives," Riccardo Adami muttered. "He's rewriting the simulation in real time." Meanwhile, Verstappen was flying up front, the RB21 dancing through corners with eerie precision, its tire wear almost non-existent. Commentators called it inhuman, unstoppable, inevitable. But inside the Ferrari garage, the admiration was mixed with quiet pride. Hamilton wasn't matching Verstappen's raw pace, but he was performing something even rarer: a masterclass in control. Verstappen's rhythm was algorithmic. Hamilton's was art. One was about perfection. The other was about adaptation. When the pit window opened, Ferrari faced a choice box: early to reset strategy or trust Hamilton's instincts. "We can stretch," he said over the radio, voice steady. "Car feels good. Let's go longer." They listened. It was a risk, but when you have Lewis Hamilton behind the wheel, you take it. Lap after lap, he managed the impossible. Tire wear minimal. Energy recovery balanced. Brake temps under control. Even Fred Vasseur, never one for open praise, leaned forward on the pit wall and murmured, "This is why you sign a 7-time champion." When the call finally came, box, the stop was flawless. 2.3 seconds. Hamilton rejoined in ninth, penalty served, still in contention. But what happened next turned admiration into disbelief. On fresh mediums, he was faster than the Red Bulls on softs. "He's flying," said one of the Ferrari strategists. The telemetry confirmed it: purple sectors through the middle sector, brake energy recovery almost perfectly efficient, tire wear 30% lower than average. "He's driving the car beyond its limits," said Vasseur. "And it looks easy." On Sky Sports, Martin Brundle couldn't help but marvel. "You give him anything and he'll find a way to make it work," he said. "That's what makes Lewis special. He's not just fast, he's precise." By lap 45, the SF25 looked reborn. The car that had struggled in practice now glided through corners, balanced and smooth. The onboard camera told the story better than data ever could. Hands still. Inputs minimal. Calm breathing. The kind of composure that comes from total confidence not in the car, but in himself. "He's found the rhythm," Adami said quietly. "Now he's in control."